what was a highlight and a pain point that you faced as you launched and grew your business? And then panelists who work with entrepreneurs, what are the common challenges you see them face as they begin a business? And Nancy, I would like to start with you. Can you talk about a highlight and a pain point as you began both Pi 515 and some of your other initiatives here?
Well, thank you so much. Actually, thank you for hosting us and for letting us be a part of this. So it's exciting to be with these great people. So for me, a highlight, I think I'm still very surprised with the successes we've seen and we've done so much with very little money. Being able to see young people, first generation young people of color getting into colleges, some going even to Georgetown, and seeing them get into STEM. STEM is so very underrepresented. People who look like me, female founders or female in tech, they're very underrepresented. So it means a lot to me to see that. In terms of hardships, wow, there've been a lot, but for me, it's also been about learning through those hardships to see how you navigate. When we first started, we even till today, we still deal with a lot of rejections when we put a proposal together. You're told, no, maybe you should pass it on to somebody else. Then here's a funny story. I remember one time we'd written a proposal, it got rejected. A friend of mine invited me to coffee because somebody else had reached out to them to do a STEM program. And I'm sitting there and I'm looking at the proposal. I'm like, that's my work, you know, and unfortunately I couldn't work with that. So there's so many hardships, but today I'll just stick with that one.
Thank you, Nancy. Lori, at the Small Business Administration, can you talk about some of the common challenges you see with entrepreneurs who are beginning or growing a business?
Sure. One of the main things is that there's a lack of knowledge of how to go about getting started. They want to start a business, they have a great idea, but they just don't know how to implement it. So that's one of the biggest challenges, along with access to capital and upfront costs, you know, having the cash injection. And like Nancy just said, rejection. There's a lot of that word no that, you know, is given out without really looking into the project.
All right, thank you, Lori. Pernell, Black and Bold has been growing quite a bit. So as a local business founder, can you talk about some of those, you know, some of that journey?
Sure. So the journey has been phenomenal and very volatile. Just as, you know, most people during 2020, we're all on this roller coaster together. And we hit our 2-year mark as a business June 1st of this year. And so I'd say we kind of showed up on a national scale at the beginning of this year with a national launch at Target across select stores, across the top markets across the US. And, you know, we're hit with the same pandemic everyone else has been, and trying to figure this thing out as a startup, now playing on a national stage. And so some of the initial challenges with launching the business, I mean, of course, are continue to be rooted in, you know, what we do and now how we go about it. But you know, what Lori had alluded to, just, you know, access to capital being a huge one. I have over 10 years experience in our competitive space that Black and Bold exists in now, and have worked with tons of entrepreneurs, advisory roles, mentors, all of that great stuff. But until you become an entrepreneur and an entrepreneur of color, and you look at the data and statistics that, you know, any small business is going to have challenges on funding and financing. Those are pretty common, but the severity of the gap is astronomical. It's overwhelming. You kind of look at the stats and like, who would want to sign up for that? And we had that same challenge on just looking at conventional financing, not wanting to go a route where we are giving up ownership of an idea before we even validate it. And so in order for us to control our own future, we had to, you know, figure out how do we fund our own way, knowing that we don't really have a friends and family pool to tap into. We're both from Gary, Indiana, first generation student, graduates, low income house. Right, so guarding a pathway to possible, you know, despite all odds against you, especially when it comes to capital for a startup, is, I would say, probably the biggest challenge for us, and likely those that are very qualified that just can't get it off the ground because they don't have that formal friends and family fallback to even, you know, become viable in a more mainstream financing way. So.
Thank you, Pernell. And I know Duana has a question that'll follow up with that very theme in a few minutes here. John, can you talk a little bit about your experience as a founder and then working with other businesses in the community? Oh, John, I'm sorry. We have you on mute still.
Can you hear me now? Hello?
Yes, yes, we can.
Okay, good, good. All right. Yes, I am John Martin, and I am the founder of TeamStrong Inc., which is a local marketing company that has grown to national levels here in the recent years. First, I would like to send a special thank you to Duana and everyone else that's on the panel for devoting time today to have this discussion. It is very, very much needed. In the past several years, we are approaching, TeamStrong Inc. is approaching 10 years in March of 2021. So we've been around for a while. We started out as a production company, putting on local events to bridge the gap between just basic entertainment and bridging the gap with social issues that occur in our community that need work on. For example, we would do comedy shows and take proceeds and donate to Des Moines Public Schools where we would see needs in the community. So some of the struggles that we've come across recently since we've transitioned a lot of our business to marketing for local and national businesses is just like everyone else has said on the panel. The narrative is basically lack of knowledge when people come and they want to sit at a table. A lot of people are just not ready to establish their business at the point when they're wanting to sit at the table. There needs to be like some like what my company has taken in the past few months has been to have like pre-screenings on you know, basic startup knowledge of how to run a business. And what we're finding is that a lot of people are needing just that basic knowledge. So we are, before we even provide marketing, we're providing business needs. We're providing business know-how and just the startup essentials that are needed before you even start talking about marketing.